Hi, my name is Autumn Harsh, and I did my research on Mr. Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was a children's television show that came out in 1968 and last aired on August 31st of 2001. Fred Rogers was the writer and star of this TV show. He wrote over 200 songs and created many of the characters, including a lot of the puppets that were seen on this show. With a total of 31 seasons, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was a classic children's show that taught many basic principles like being kind to one another, being unique, and how to be creative. He created a grandfather type of feel for the children who were watching because of his older age. His slogan and premise for the show was, "Won't you be my neighbor?" This slogan invited everyone to be friends, get along, and bring their unique perspectives and outlooks to life. He also used his show to teach children about many things, including wheelchairs, disabilities, service animals, treating people with kindness, and how to use our hands to be creative. Mr. Rogers said this quote that I think portrays his heart for the show very well. And I quote, "I feel that those of us in television are chosen to be servants. It doesn't matter what our particular job is, we are chosen to help meet the deeper needs of those who watch and listen day and night." End quote. More recently, I stumbled across a Facebook post of Mr. Rogers singing about our bodies and genders, and the song was called "Everybody's Fancy." This song talks about how everybody's body is unique and, quote, fancy. In this song, he sings about gender, saying this, and I quote, "Boys are boys from the beginning, girls are girls right from the start. If you are born a boy, you stay a boy. And when you're born a girl baby, you grow up to be a bigger girl and then a woman. Only girls can grow up to be the mommies, and only boys can grow up to be the daddies." End quote. This song has gotten a lot of heat recently because of the way that gender was perceived and talked about in the time and culture of Mr. Rogers is very different than how it's talked about now in this culture. Mr. Rogers started singing this song in the 60s, which was quite a while ago. In one article written by Charisma News, the writer says this, quote, "While he may not have realized it at the time, Fred Rogers, otherwise known as Mr. Rogers on the children's television program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, may have been anti-trans and also prophetic about the culture in America more than 40 years ago." End quote. Mr. Rogers also appeared on The Tonight Show a while ago, saying this about the song "Everybody's Body." Quote, "Sometimes children think they might change. They might have to change after a while," and the crowd laughs. Quote, "You know we laugh about that now, but it's because we had that concern when we were little." End quote. Here he was explaining that people at the time thought it was funny to explain to children that boys will always be boys and girls will always be girls. But today, that doesn't seem so crazy anymore, and in fact, it's happening more and more. One of the Twitter posts that went viral with a clip of this Mr. Rogers video of this song said this, in all caps, "Trigger warning. This is the most upsetting thing you will see all weekend," and posted a clip of the song, "Everybody's Body is Fancy." One quote from Summit News states this, "The message was considered entirely wholesome, even up until the show aired its last episode in 2001. Yet, now in our 2023 reality, the message is being labeled triggering and upsetting." End quote. There's been an uproar on this Twitter post with the video of Mr. Rogers, of people from different generations, cultures, and beliefs about gender going back and forth on what Mr. Rogers meant or what he would actually say about the subject matter today. This topic has brought out a central row argument on whether or not transgender should be accepted or not. One quote from the book from Pratt Canis and Aronson helps us understand this more. And I quote, In the central route of the person may actively argue against the message, may want to know the answer to additional questions, or may seek out new information. But the persuasiveness of this message is determined by how well it can stand up to this scrutiny." End quote. There is a big argument on what Mr. Rogers would say today, and unfortunately he's no longer here to be able to explain. But I do wonder what he would think about the new LGBTQ movement that is happening and how he would interpret that today, including interpreting our genders. Thanks.